All right, welcome to Chainsaw Chats, a new innovation here in King Country Rugby. Just trying to get to know King Country local players or current players and past players, and it's our pleasure we have with us Kurt McCQuilkin back from Ireland. We'll kind of cover that, but Kurtie, wonderful to have you here, an icon of King Country Rugby, both playing and administrating. Yeah, pursing your lips going, ooh. But yeah, wonderful to have you here, and I thought it was too good an opportunity to not grab you and have a chat to you. I guess about your playing career in this instance. There's too much to talk about with you if we went the whole gamut and covered your administration as well. So I think this one, part one, will cover your playing career because it was pretty substantial. So wonderful to have you here on Chainsaw Chats, the second one. Hopefully we'll get some viewers.
Yeah, please. He's hoping. Yeah, thanks very much. Great to be here, and I take it I fall into that past category.
Definitely, definitely past.
Well ensconced in there.
Yep.
So no. Thanks for having me along, and it's great to be here.
Can I just? You're back because your father Noel passed away 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So just on behalf of everybody in the King Country, we had a wonderful send-off for him at Waitete, and he was a wonderful man. Well covered.
Polarising.
What a
polarising character. Yeah.
Fantastic guy though. Fantastic guy for King Country, and I guess you've got a big task now. You've got your mum Josie to look after and sort out. So sad you're back here. The reason you're back here, but good for us to get a chance to have a chat. So just on behalf of the union, just condolences, and he was a very, very good man for King Country.
That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and he'd appreciate that. And we certainly gave him a great send-off at the Waitete Rugby Club a few weeks ago, and that's the way he would have wanted it. No fuffing around, or it was a good send-off for him, and everyone had a few beers and a laugh. So it's great.
It was great to see a lot of the kind of the players from that era. He was around the late 80s, 90s.
Exactly.
A lot of you would have been shaking hands with a lot of the old teammates and opponents, and it was great to see NZRU there and Thames Valley. So it was good. It
was awesome. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When we get to our age, you don't go to 21st or weddings anymore. It's funerals. So
or 60th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just currently, you're CEO at Greystones, RSA in Ireland. Is that the correct term?
No. They gave me a CRO, which is Chief Rugby Officer.
Yep.
Don't ask me where they got that from, but it's my role there now. I'm covering off the different structures, going through their structures and their coaching structures, and make sure we're all coaching the same stuff and reading off the same hymn sheet. And it's a great challenge for me. It's a wide-ranging role, so that's going to keep me pretty busy.
What town is that?
Greystones.
Okay, that is a town. Excuse my ignorance.
Just outside of where we used to live for many years when I was over there in Bray. It's about, as a crow flies, I guess, half an hour south of Dublin.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you jump on the Dart, you'll be there in about half an hour or so.
And you were just saying before, heat wave in Ireland, 24 degrees the other day?
Absolute heat wave, Chainsaw, yeah. So there'd be plenty of red and blistered Irishmen and women strutting around the place at the moment. It's summertime, So it's quite out of character, to be honest, in that Irish summer. But and we miss it, of course.
So we'll crack into it. So like I say, we want to talk about your playing career. Born. Noel himself played for King Country in the 60s. Uncle Joe, I guess you would say, played in the 50s. In your blood, the rugby?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Look, a lot of, probably yourself too, a lot of young kids brought up around that era. You're brought up at the rugby club, basically. That's where you're...
and your club was Waitete?
Waitete was our home club, and we were brought up there around the weekends, and I'd go along to the training sessions when Dad was coaching, and so you'd spend a lot of your time there over the week. Yeah.
As a youngster, handy at rugby? We obviously know you got handy as you got older, but
handy enough. Yeah, look, I mean, I made the Roller Mills as the first rep side you could make. Obviously, that sort of at that age, your last year of primary school, I made that side. And
where was that held?
That was held in Whitianga.
Oh,
yeah. All those
a nice place to go to now. And I thought it would have been a great place.
It was cool. From memory, it rained quite a lot for that week. Yeah, so there was some interesting, like Auckland East back then. had the Ropati boys
Yeah.
and all these, some really, when you look back through those teams now, there's some real rugby league characters and all union characters.
Have you still got the program from it?
I do,
Yeah,
I
that would
do
be-
at home. Yeah.
Billeted?
Yes, billeted.
Can you remember the billets' names?
I can't,
No.
to be honest. Yeah. I got billeted. I moved for my first billet and then got, I don't know whether I don't think I played up. I got moved to another billet
maybe
during the
brought
week.
back
It was
a
only
girl.
there for a week.
Maybe you brought back a girl to the house.
I thought so at 12.
No.
But I was a shy, unassuming lad from Tikawiti. But that was sort of fond memories. And likewise, before then, sort of making sort of Manyapoto sides, from primary school, coming up through the age groups, playing bare feet and going down to Tamaranui and kicking the hell out of us. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So roller mills, then through the traditional King Country pathway, 14s, 16s, 18s.
Colts, and then into the King Country.
So always at Tikawiti High School?
Tikawiti High School, yeah. Tikawiti Infant School, Tikawiti Primary School, Tikawiti High School, yeah. That was the treaded path.
So players from that, kind of those under 14s, under 16s, under 18s, did a few of them carry on through the King Country grades, or a lot of them left the area?
A lot of them sort of moved away, and so some went to boarding school, obviously, and there was probably not a hell of a lot. We all sort of went our own way. There'd be a few in there. Some possibly didn't make the King Country senior side, but you definitely through the 18s and Colts and that, you had some guys who were in your 14s and 16s teams. So some good footballers.
Yeah. Scholar?
No, probably not a scholar. Pretty average student, I think my report card said. You love sport. My two favourite subjects were obviously PE.
Yeah. And
when the bell rang at 3 p.m, it was rugby time, So, and I played a bit of tennis around the summer and cricket. So, I love my sport. Just an average scholar, to be honest.
So, what age did you leave school?
I left school probably 17, 18. I went to Wrightson's NMA.
So is that 6th, 7th form?
Year
13?
I was sixth. Yeah, I did
times
2 years.
I was going to say times 2 by the sounds.
2 years, yeah. So, it's actually one day the headmaster and I sat down in his office. I was a prefect. How I got to be a prefect, and he just said, I think it's time you left. What do you think? I said, I probably agree with you. So
that was halfway through your 5th year of high school.
Yeah. So halfway through there, and he said probably time to go. So it was probably, he was dead right, and lucky enough to get a job with Wrightson NMA as a young stock agent cadet.
Yeah.
And which meant you went to all the sales, but you also did a bit of work out in the grain store. And at that time, there was a young Paul Mitchell who worked in the appliance department of Wrightson NMA.
Younger than you, Paul?
Yes, he was a year or two, just a year or so, And there were some characters there, some characters there.
Those sort of stores and that were big in their day, weren't they? They were all encompassing.
Massive.
So, I used to be a little schoolboy at Williams and Kettles.
Oh right,
same sort of thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
So left school, you worked, played rugby.
Yep, played rugby for Waitete. When I left school, went straight into it was the under 23s as it was back then. Had a season with them.
It's quite interesting that under 23. I was the same when I left school.
Yeah.
And you kind of play men, young men, but it's quite when you're a 17, 18 year old. It's quite a difference.
Yeah, it was a challenge. Like I had a sort of year with them, and then went up to seniors the following year, which is even more of a shock to the system,
So what year would that have been?
Oh, when did I leave? I left school 83, 84, possibly 85. Might have been. No, 84, 85. It might have been 84 actually.
So you're playing senior rugby in 84.
Yeah. So started off at fullback because we had Hutana Coffin at 10.
Was that his year? That was his year at Waitete.
Yeah. Old Hoot came along, him and Phil, and they had a pretty handy side back then. So I slotted into fullback, shut my gob, and did what I was told.
Who was coaching?
That first year was my old man.
Oh, it was your old man.
Yeah. So even more of a case not to say too much.
Yeah.
On or off the field, just shut up and do what you're told.
Did you feel any connection to Waitete, as in so world famous, the club, thanks to the Meads name? Did you kind of feel that way playing for them as a young fella? Did that come across, or was that ingrained in the club?
Yeah, it was more ingrained in the club. You know, you expect when you put that blue jersey on that you go out and people expect you to win.
Yeah.
You know, and there were some cracking sides around there. You know, Mananui's and with Thomas Ketu and all these the crib boys.
Yeah.
You know, Tamaranui Athletic, Tamaranui Eels, Otrahonga, QQ. Huia. We had a few clubs in Tikawiti and those sort of, there some good sides, and everyone picked their game up when they saw a blue jersey in front of them, so it was tough.
In fairness though, 85, 86, 87, I'm not sure about 84, Waitete did win the comp, so they were expected to win, and they generally did.
But it was tough footy.
Yeah.
You know, nothing like the schools you see around at the moment, like there were sort of 2 and 3 point wins, and you might be lucky to get an 8 point win or something every now and then, but they were slog fests. Yeah.
Attacking fullback, defensive fullback, great defensively, or
like
more attack?
Sound defensively. I like to attack. I had a decent kicking game on me, so ball in hand, we had a crack, you know, which is great. And I think it put me in good stead being able to play 10 or 15, because both roles are quite similar in some ways, you know. So
and ironically, Hutana was also capable of swapping the two.
He could play 12 too, you know. So it was great. It was great for me to cut my teeth at that level. But I enjoyed tackling. And funny enough, enjoyed tackling, and I enjoyed ball in hand, you know. And fullback probably for that first team was great. You could chime in where you want and pick holes.
So 85 played for Waitete, got asked or invited to represent King Country.
Yeah,
run me through if you can remember your debut and that sort of stuff.
I remember my Brian Cressy was coaching at the time. My first game, my first class game, was against Mid Canterbury and Tikawiti, and I played. I don't know, I might have been 10. Yeah, I was 10 because Simon Luone played 12, and I was 10. Dirty, wet day in Tikawiti. We won the game by not much, and then
kicked the conversion.
Well,
23-16 you won.
Missed the penno, which my old man haunted me for the next month or so. I kicked the conversion, and I remember one game. It might have been before that, might have been leading up to that season or the season after. We played Hawke's Bay at Nelson Park.
Yes, in Hastings.
Hastings. And it was a tight game. We were going well. They had your Paul Cooks and all these guys out, and Matthew Cooper.
Yep.
And we ran it from our own goal line, just with no time left on the clock. Coffin made a slashing break up the middle, hit Simon Bradley, who must have run probably 60 metres, no one near him. He gets probably a couple of metres out, probably preparing for a big dive, and he dropped the ball. It was a real competitive side back then, you know, and games like that, you know, we could foot it with most sides. They get out there and have a crack, you know, and
So 85 at Tikawiti, that would have been a cool in front of your family, playing your first class game. You would have enjoyed that.
Very much so, I loved it, and I marked a guy called Murray Ralston.
Yes.
He was a South Island rep and All Black trialist, and
100 gamer.
I had a good chat. He kindly come up to me and shook my hand after the game and bought me a beer after it. Would be my first cap, and it was awesome. Yeah.
I didn't go through the whole team, but there's a pretty solid team. Simon Bradley, Johnny Grice, Jaharpek, Lynn Meads, Clarietti had started. He was debuting that year. Chris Heppenstall, Big Hep.
Oh, Hep, yeah.
Full Coffin, Kevin Borovich, Andrew Campbell. They were
pretty handy.
There's some pretty handy players in that team, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. Some tough old roosters in there too, you know. I'm glad they're on my side.
And Borovich would have been playing with you at Waitete, so playing with an All Black wouldn't have been...
Oh, and it was awesome. Yeah, again, back in those days, you just said yes, no, nod. You know, if he told you to kick it and touch, you kick it to touch, because he's obviously our club captain. If you miss touch, look out, which I did on a couple of occasions, and it wasn't pretty. But playing with those sort of guys, and I'm forever thankful that I always played alongside Clarietti and never against. I played against them once, and he cut me in half. And I was always very grateful that he was on my side.
I watched Glyn Meads talk to somebody, and he said similar things about Clary. Very underrated.
Oh, unbelievable player.
Yeah.
And quite skillful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So you played 3 games in 1985. King Country finished mid-table with the second division, so not a bad season. I guess 86 you kind of had a taste, and you kind of had a good off-season, wanted to have a real crack in 86, and looking at the kind of, I guess, Waitete club champs, King Country, 13 games, so you became a starting first 5 for the season.
Yeah, which is, sort of puts you in a different position. The honeymoon period is over, and you got to get out and put performances regularly on for the province. So, yeah, it was good. It was good footy.
Tough season, though. I had a look, second to last in second division, so...
Yeah.
I think Borovich had gone then. He'd moved up to Wellington or North Harbour. I'm not sure which way he went. So a tough season. Was. And Graham Potaka, his first season as coach?
Yeah, Pote came on then, and it was a very transitional time, not only for the coaching team, but also for the players too, you know. So, it was a tough old season. Again, you know, you get that... like losing becomes a habit, just like winning does, you know. And I think when you get on that slippery slope, it's just one of those seasons where we managed to snatch a win, you know, a loss from the jaws of a victory, you know, every time. So it wasn't great.
What work were you doing at this stage? Still at?
I think I was still at Wrightson's. I'm pretty sure I was still at Wrightson's.
Little blue shirt,
little blue number with the old red lion on,
and little name, Kurt McCQuilkin. Probably spelt wrong.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I answer to most things I'm called anyway.
So again, 87, it kind of rolls on. Waitete club champs again. 13 games, mixture of fullback and first 5 that season.
Yeah.
Same coach?
Same coach, just sort of mixed it up, and like I say, whenever you get an opportunity to put on a rep jersey, you take it, and I would have played anywhere.
Who were kind of your halfbacks that you can remember? That's obviously who you had that first 5, a good connection with?
Yeah, like...
Chrissy Walls, had he started then?
No, Woolsey wouldn't have been coming in then. It was probably still Gricey. Gricey would have been around, H.
Oh, Hanari.
Leachy
he'd
was
come
around.
Down from counties.
Yeah, so Leachy was around.
And Tomo?
Tomo
was a bit later.
Might have been a bit later. Tomo, yeah. But no, he stepped in well. Yeah,
so 87. How were you feeling? Were you kind of, I guess, 30 games into your rep career, were you thinking, I'm getting close to getting a trial or a North Island or anything like that? You know, some of your mates had, you know, like at that stage, Glyn had gone to emerging players and they were getting recognised. Any chance?
Not really. I went to New Zealand Colts trial a year or two earlier, and I was just enjoying my footy and didn't really worry too much about what happened above the provincial level at that stage. I was just happy to be starting to become a sort of fixture and fitting in a team, and you're finding your way, you know.
Were you starting to become a senior player then, or were you that middle of the bus?
Yeah, exactly.
Has a little bit to say, but not too much.
A few old heads there that slap you around if you got out of your spot, you know. But no, it's sort of mid-management, I guess you'd say,
So, 88, you're up and moved to North Auckland.
Yeah.
I get why, you know, that's where that question led to. What?
Yeah, the year before I'd left Wrightson's NMA and gone to work with my dad and Jimmy as a labourer, and that was good.
Is this this isn't the classic thumb story?
Oh, it would be around that time, and it wasn't long into that. I guess journey, I realised I was never going to be a carpenter or a builder of any note.
Just run us through with your father. Tell us at one point that might have decided that you weren't going to be a carpenter.
Probably the day I destroyed his thumb with a sledgehammer. Yeah, like driving in a post. He was getting stroppy. It was late on a Friday afternoon. We usually finished around 3 because we go for a beer at the pub, and it was close to 3. I was tip-tapping away on the pole because I didn't want to hit him, and Jimmy, the dad's mate, was in my ear saying, don't miss. So I started swinging. The old man started yelling at me, hit it. So bang, bang, thud. The thud was I hit his thumb. And then when you get to that stage, it's the fight or flight theory comes into it.
And I don't think Noel would just roll over and say,
No,
I
he
missed it,
went
son.
down, he went down rolling. And I chose the latter. I chose flight and ran up the road and just took off up the road. And I made the mistake of looking around. As I looked around, he was rolling around the ground in pain. Jimmy was rolling around the ground just laughing his pants off. And the old man caught my eye and said, "That's it, you gooey dog, run." So I did exactly what he told me. I took off. Anyway, I got a bit of trouble after it, but yeah.
And injury? Broke his thumb?
Broke his thumb. Yeah, broke his thumb. Yes. Yeah.
So that's why you moved. That's why you buggered off to North Auckland.
I was offered a job with AFCO as a fat stock buyer.
Yes.
So
I did read fat stock buyer. I don't really know what that is.
Yeah. So
you buy fat cows,
fat lambs, calves, with cows, everything. Yeah. So, and I got posted initially in Dargaville. And,
wondered why you'd played for Southern.
And I played for the Southern Rugby Club there.
So you didn't apply for the job? They approached you, or
Gary Morton at the time, who was a Waitete man in Tikawiti, he worked for them, and he said, "There's a role coming up. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah." So I had an interview in the car park in Tikawiti, and I got the role, and I got moved up to Dargaville. That was just for a season to cover for a bloke who'd gone on a long holiday. So. Yeah, that's how I got up north.
So played for Southern Club. You had one game for North Auckland that year, a pre-season versus North Harbour.
Yeah, then I went back to King Country.
Yeah, then
moved back.
Yeah, so was that with work or
work? Yeah, they moved me back to King Country, and I worked with Hamish McDonald for a few months. Coming back to King Country, they wanted to sort of make sure I got a good grounding and everything. So yeah, back to King Country for a while.
So that year you kind of come back just in time for the Shield game, Auckland.
Yes.
Was that the one where missed a kick?
I did miss a kick.
Fell over.
I didn't fall over. No, I didn't fall over, but I definitely missed it. It was an interesting. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to blame what happened.
You've done better than 99% of the people watching this. So.
No, that's always brought up, and funny enough, and you learn to laugh about it. At the time, I was devastated.
Yeah. So you moved back, and then I think you played 5 games at the end of the season, and again, King Country. Near the bottom of second division.
Struggled,
they kind of were there or thereabouts in that second division. So then you flipped back, 89, you went back to North Auckland.
Posted up to North Auckland again through my job at AFCO, and I went to Kaitaia and played for Awanui in Kaitaia.
So 89 back then, they were in first division, North Auckland.
Yes.
Pretty stacked team.
Good
obviously
side.
Jones, Woodman brothers might have still been playing. Carpenter was definitely playing.
Carpenter and Freddie had a few games. Chris Hull, Warren Johnson,
Ziggy Seymour.
Ziggy was there. Chris Hull, the 9.
Con Burrell. It was a pretty handy team. So you went up in 89. And you obviously had a good club season because you got picked and you had a full season playing for North Auckland. 16 games in the first division. How did you find the step from kind of struggling in second div with King Country to being competitive in first division?
It was quite surreal. Yeah, like going out and playing your Canterburys on the old Lancaster Park and Otago's away. It was grand, but it's amazing that sort of momentum. And at the time, they probably still are. At the time, North Auckland, as they were called back then, were renowned for moving the ball, having a crack. So you had that license that you could just go out and hit Charles going. On a miss one on your line, and he had a massive left boot on him too, but he also very quick, and he could open things up in a heartbeat. So just obviously Going was a synonymous name with North Auckland. Were the Going brothers as synonymous up there as the Meads were at Waitete? Oh definitely.
But
without a doubt, they were revered, and rightly so. You know, they were amazing athletes, and a lot of the nephews and sons of the Going brothers were playing in the local for Mid Northern in the local comp, and they were pretty handy footballers too.
And then, so 1990, still stayed up in North Auckland, but 90 wasn't so appealing. Only had 6 games, mainly off the bench, but behind an All Black, and Ian Dunn, who was also captain.
Dunny was injured for I think the season before or something. He might have got injured or whatever. He was out, but that gave me a good run. And then Dunny came back, and geez, you don't mind sitting on. Well, you shouldn't like sitting on the bench, but when it's behind a talented All Black first 5'8" like Ian Dunn, I learnt a lot of.
And different days too, where you didn't, if you were a sub, you didn't get games.
Unless
there was legitimate injuries.
Injured.
So 90. So then you're still up there in 91. Same again. So you've got to about 40 odd games, 30 odd games with North Auckland. 91, you're kind of playing 10 games for North Auckland, mid-table Division 1. You've got a pretty handy North Auckland team. Are you looking down the North Island a bit and seeing your beloved King Country? Well, I assume they were still your beloved King Country, going pretty well in the second division.
Yeah, very much so. It was great, and they were doing some great things. In fact, we played a pre-season game against King Country in Otrahonga that year, I think, at the Island Reserve, and Dad was obviously coaching, and I was playing against Glenn Meads', Paul Mitchell's, Philip Coffin's.
There was a lot of discussion of here.
There was a lot of discussion. I, as my dad would put it, I got my beans that day. Physically, they got stuck into me, which is fair enough.
Who was the biggest culprit?
Well, probably Meads and Mitchell. Kutu probably threw me over the sideline there once, and and a few of my mates on the sideline giving it to me too, in a bantery sort of way. So we ended up winning, but I certainly came off with a few missing a bit of bark.
So Noel was coaching King Country then. Was he kind of in your ear saying, son, we need you?
It wasn't until, because that season I went over to Concert in England and having a season. Concert in the northeast of England, just outside of Newcastle. And myself and Ziggy Seymour went over, Mark Seymour. And while I was over there, I got a call from Pine Tree going, what are you doing next year? And I went, probably going back to North Auckland. He went, no, you're not. You're going to come back to King Country. I said, what's the story? Well, we're up now, so we want you to come back. So you don't turn down Pine Tree, do you, when he gives you a call? So.
Did you see the first division game? The game against Bar Plenty that they won in 91 to go up, or were you still up in North Auckland?
North Auckland, yeah. So
Pine Tree's probably the main reason.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
he rang, and then obviously the old man was in behind, sort of, but getting there. But he always said, you're not guaranteed a spot. You come here and play for a spot. You got to play club footy and earn that jersey, which I respected and understood, and I wouldn't have any other way. But Pine Tree's call probably turned it.
So what work did you come back to Waitete and do?
I come back and I work for the old man, which I said I never would, as a hammer hand again. So
you lost both thumbs.
But I stayed. I wasn't allowed to use a sledgehammer, so things were quite a constricted role.
So started every game that year, mainly at first five. I think you even had a run at second five and won the games.
I did, against Otago, I think.
Yeah, the last game. Yeah. First five, I think Hutano being there previously, he'd gone back to fullback, and a mixture of fullback and second five.
Yeah.
I guess for those who weren't around, the pride and the delight of King Country playing in the first division, it must have been an amazing time for the Union.
Unbelievable. We were on the crest of a wave, and we had a really good team, and they recruited well with the likes of Richie Watts coming in and Wolf Polvas from over here, obviously. The big Canadian lock we had, I can't remember his name, he was a cracker. And obviously Big Joe was around with Kutu and Ox, and we had the same old personalities there, but just sort of bumped up with a few others. And
Did you notice any difference in professionalism, I guess, from playing for North Auckland First Division to King Country First Division? Same?
Pretty much same, it's pretty much the same. To be honest, that obviously they were a tight unit, the King Country Union, as North Auckland were, and we knew we didn't have superstars, but if we played as a unit on our day, on any given day, we could bowl someone, and that was sort of North Auckland sort of way of looking at things too,
And dare I say, you beat Hawke's Bay, you beat Canterbury. We'll get to the Canterbury game away. and you beat North Auckland. That would have been nice, beating North Auckland. So after 4 rounds, you were top of the table. King Country were top of the table with the Shield Challenge coming up. They were cock a hoop.
And they were talking, the talk was going around about the Super 10s as it was then.
Yes.
If we made the Super 10s, they'd have to fly into Tikawiti Aerodrome to play matches, and how would that happen? Everyone's going, we may be getting a touch ahead of ourselves.
They were teams from Canada and Argentina, weren't they?
Yeah,
they would have found it interesting popping down to Tikawiti. So Canterbury, just beating them away, I hear it all the time around the Union. That's one of people's favourite games.
Yeah.
Big memories from it?
Massive. Like, I mean, even before the game, Chainsaw, you know, we went out, you do the obligatory walk of the park, and already the crowd was starting to build there, and they absolutely gave it to us verbally. They assassinated us, character assassinated us as we were walking around the park, you know. Oh, look at these shoes. And
you were sponsored that year by Fabian Shoes, weren't you? And they were, they certainly weren't, they weren't class personified, and you were proudly wearing your Fabians.
They were, our Fabians were going around the park, and they were bagging us on our Fabian. And we also had Adidas tracksuits at the time, which were totally out of favour. You know, it was Nike and Canterbury. We strutting the old Adidas, and the crowd into us.
In fairness, though, I came over for one of the games at Tikawiti. It might have been the Hawke's Bay game. And you talk about Canterbury giving it to you guys. The Tikawiti crowds were quite handy.
They were very handy. Sledging, a lot of sledging going on. Without a doubt. Well, that was our way of getting back.
Teams would have just hated going there.
They really did.
Yeah, because it was just, it was packed.
And you talk to the opposition players after the match. They hate the way that the ground was so tight, and they felt like the crowd were on top of them, you know, and that's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah,
you know?
And I was living in Mangkina at the time, and I remember going to after matches here in games at Taupo, and they'd be down at the Spa Hotel, and you actually couldn't move, and the Spa Hotel would hold
good size
500, 800 people, and you actually couldn't move. It was just, the support was just incredible.
Oh, it was mad. Like I say, it really, we were on a crest of a wave, and we got a couple of thumpings, but I think we acquitted us. I think we ended up sixth. Not too bad, you know.
So, 92, you've had this great kind of games or season with King Country. You were going to do it in 93?
I was. Then I went back to concert, and then. No, I didn't. So I went to Ireland. I got in touch with the old man was going to go over there.
So he'd finished. So he coached 92. He'd done something like 89 to 92. So he was always going.
He was going, and I was thinking, geez, perhaps I should have a look around, you know, and see what's happening. It could always come back if need be.
So even though that was a real high of rugby. You still wanted to get over and have a bit of an OE and a bit of a look?
Yeah, have a look around. And with no intention of doing anything spectacular. Might play a bit of footy, might not, you know. So as it happened, the old man got over there. They didn't have a 10, and he said, what are you doing?
And this was for a team, Bective Rangers.
Bective Rangers,
yes. An Irish team.
In Donnybrook in Dublin, centre of Dublin. So I said, I'll come over and have a go. So... had a couple of trial runs for them. He made me trial, which was fair enough.
What was that level like?
It was All Ireland Division 3 at the time. It was competitive.
Similar to our club rugby?
Be probably a step or two up from our club rugby currently,
But back in the 90s?
Back in the 90s, Some good footy, because all the internationals and provincial players all played for their clubs then. So it was a good standard, and the players were distributed all through the divisions 1, 2 and 3. So some good footballers around. And so that was good.
So you liked Bective and decided to stay.
I'll hang on. I'll hang on. And
Did you get any grief from King Country saying, hey, 93, 94, we need you back, we want you back?
No.
I've forgotten you.
I think I got a call. Pointy might have given me another call. And it was like, I I just said, listen, I'm settling in over here. I wouldn't mind having another season or two. And he was cool about it. So.
Had you met your wife, Barb?
No, not at that stage.
So
I was
loose and
free.
fancy
Yeah,
free.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Slaying Dublin.
With my mane, with my receding mane. So, no, it was great. Dublin's a great spot socially and sports-wise. I was loving it. And yeah, it's just a happy time for me.
So you had a couple of seasons playing club for Bective?
Yes, yeah.
And then you suddenly started getting noticed and picked up and talked about and playing for Leinster, which is, I guess, a provincial
side. Yeah. It's
so that's we say 95, 96 because obviously they play over the winter, seasons. Over the seasons. Yeah, so 95, 96, you've kind of picked in the Leinster side.
I am. Yeah. I'm picked in the Leinster side and playing alongside British Lions and Irish internationals, and it was really cool. And I managed to hold up my end on the field, which was great. And
always at first five?
No, I played everything. I was 12 in Ireland. Yeah, played all my game at 12 and loved it. Was loving it. So playing it inside centre as they call it over there.
A silky distributor or a more Martin Onu crash and bash?
No, I liked. I could do a bit of crashing and bashing, but I was more. I distributed more. Played that second 5/8 sort of role over there, which was cool. And we had a good run. Leinster had a great run.
So that was in the Heineken Cup?
Heineken Cup just started that year, and we lost in the semi-final to Cardiff at Lansdowne Road, but we had some good victories leading up to that, you know.
And like, unless you've travelled over there, it's hard to fathom how easy it is to travel around Europe, and it's
crazy.
It's just like you kind of think, wow, you're in Ireland and you're going to Wales or you're going to France, but it's nothing.
Nothing at all. Yeah, it's like driving down the road to them, and but I was playing at all these grounds that I'd watched as a kid on TV, like Arms Park, Cardiff Arms Park and all those. It was cool. Yeah.
So 95, 96, you've been overseas or over in Ireland for 3 years. Back then, might still be, there's a 3-year residency clause. So if you live in the country for 3 years and work and pay your taxes, you can be resident.
Yeah.
Did it start crossing your mind about qualifying for Ireland to play rugby? Not at all?
Not at all. Like, I was enjoying playing for Bective, and I was loving Leinster. And I thought, this is as good as it gets, I didn't even consider a green jersey,
So January 96, you get a call from an old mate who happens to be coaching Ireland.
Murray Kidd, yeah, geez. I thought, geez, he must be ringing about King Country or something. but
just, I guess, for those who don't know, Murray Kidd, Centurion for King Country, played a lot for Taranaki as well.
Yeah.
New Zealand Junior,
Rugby Club.
Very good rugby CV.
Yeah. And he got in touch with me and sort of just felt, would you be interested in playing for Ireland? I went, if I'm definitely if I'm eligible, So, that's, and the ball started rolling then,
So, and you would have been one of the first Kiwis playing international for
Ireland?
Ireland or anyone really over there?
I think Sean Lyneen had played for Scotland.
Oh yes,
before,
yes, he had,
and Shawnee McCarthill was the first Kiwi to play for Ireland. He got a cap for Ireland, and then I was the second.
So brother of Bernie.
Brother of, lovely guys, Shawnee.
So we've jumped forward a bit. So January 96, Murray Kidd selects you for Ireland, and you're playing USA over in USA. Yeah. Run me through that.
We played it in Atlanta at one of the chiropractic universities that Phil McMaster used to go to, by the way.
What a small world.
Yeah. And we went there. For.
He would have been with his little bald, his little Costanza haircut, bobbing around on the sideline.
So we went over there to train beforehand and do warm weather training leading up to the test against the USA.
And it was a full test.
Full test
test
against the USA. And it pissed down for the whole week. So warm weather training, it was the most unseasonable time of the year that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Typically when the Irish went over there to do warm weather training, and we got flogged fitness-wise. leading up to that game. So we sort of didn't come in too fresh, but and that was the way it was back then, you know.
You got to win though?
We got to win, in the pouring rain. We got to win. And
you felt Irish?
Oh, listen, I was very proud that they gave me that honour of wearing the Irish green jersey. And like I mean, that I was... they took me in, the Irish, you know. They were very good to me, and I still owe everything to them from a rugby perspective. And felt Irish, you know, sung the anthem, and it was cool.
You would have had to learn the words
phonetically and all that. Yeah, exactly, to make sure I knew it, you know, because you got to do it right and do the honourable thing. And it was cool.
Had you met Barb by the stage?
No.
Oh, okay. Still not Barb.
Still not
Holy
Barb.
moly.
Barb hadn't come in yet. Yeah.
So. And then later in January '96, you played in the Five Nations, the games against Scotland and France.
Yes.
That would have been, where were those games played?
We played Scotland in Lansdowne Road, again in the pouring rain, but what an atmosphere. It was awesome, and we lost by a couple of points. And then we went to France, in the old Parc de France.
Oh, I was going to say,
that concrete ground with the bands playing, and I swear it's the most unbelievable atmosphere I think I've ever been in.
I think there was something like 75,000 there that day. It was
unbelievable.
It's a fantastic ground day.
And they were in their pomp, and they got their tails up early. And when the French, as you know, when the French get their tails up, it's like they're playing with 3 rugby balls. You got nothing. And you end up chasing a lot through that day, and the game just went like that. And you looked at, I think they pumped us by about 25 or 30, and it was just shell shocked.
And you felt like you belonged, as in like player ability, your skills and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I thought I belonged, but probably I wouldn't have minded another yard pace. Would have helped, especially on that occasion. But I mean, you never, when you're out there, you don't even think of those things. You know, you just get stuck in and give it your all.
And you read so many things about, you go to club, then the step up to rep is so much quicker, then the step up from rep to is so much quicker.
Fast, really fast.
John Mitchell, he was on the scene as well.
He was a Fords coach then. And he obviously he's gone on to do some great things too, you know. And he was actually living with me, mum and dad in Bray for a time, you know, when he first come over. So
it's a real little Tikawiti hub in the middle of Dublin.
And he'd drag me to the gym and make me push these horrendously big weights, and he was a good taskmaster.
So later on in '96 March, you got invited to play for the UK Barbarians.
I did,
the famous black and white. These were some of the players in that team. Jonathan Healy.
Austin
Healy, sorry. Jonathan Davies, Robert Jones, Graham Roundtree, Robert Cockrell, Ben Clark, Lawrence Delalio.
Yeah, mad.
Little Kurt from Waitete among these superstars. So what a great game to be playing.
Oh, it was a terrific game to play in, and it was an amazing time, great crowd, and you, like you say, you're wearing those famous black and white stripes. And you get the obligatory photo beforehand, which I still have. And
am I right in thinking quite an obligatory build-up to it, quite a social build-up?
Very much so, You had to sort of pinch yourself the night before. Geez, I'm meant to be playing tomorrow. There were a few points going around, and that's the Barbars way, the British Barbars way anyway. And unfortunately, that game, the second half, I hyperextended my elbow, and that knocked me out of contention for a couple of tests.
For the rest of the Five Nations?
It's gone, And Murray Kidd had come along to watch me playing it all, but it just wasn't meant to be.
So you got the jersey? Still got the jersey?
No, they wouldn't allow you. But I got a dress jersey and I got the scarf, you know, so it's all
like
good.
you and Earl Curtin.
Very good,
So at this stage you're employed by the Irish Union as an elite player development officer.
Correct. For Leinster. So basically, it was looking after our academy players in the Leinster province and bring them for sessions.
Which that would have been well before New Zealand was doing things like that, because they would have just gone pro.
So we and obviously another part of my job was going around scouting. Looking for players, you know, and
was that hard doing that job while you were still playing?
I didn't know any different. You know, so and it was all rugby. So it was not really. Probably when you look back at it now, it probably was a bit tough, but it's just you did what you did.
Yeah. And parents, they went to the games proud, happy?
Yeah, like they went to my first game, and Mum didn't like going. Thought she gets nervous, and she needs to walk. So she'd probably stay at home and do laps of the lounge and have a smoke and whatever. Yeah. So her and Dad would probably And I think at that time, towards the end of my international stuff, they'd come back home.
Here because he re-coached King Country. Yeah. So 96, 97. So that was a breakout year for you. 95, 96, 96, 97. More the same with Leinster, and another couple of tests versus France and Scotland again. Final one at Murrayfield, again 67, 70,000 people there, Flower Scotland. Must just be such a cool memory.
Unbelievable. That was my last test. I actually broke my sternum in that game. Doddy Weir fell over in a ruck and broke my sternum.
Was he a great man? You just,
unbelievable.
You know, like when he died, you just saw all the tributes. And
my first test, my first Five Nations test was against Scotland in Dublin, and afterwards I was the first capper. All the Scots come around and buy you a drink, and Dottie sat next to me and was plying me with whiskey and all, and I was gone. And he's a great character. I was just all over the shop. But
what was he, 6'8" or something? He was a giant.
And he dragged me around the pubs of Dublin for the rest of the night with a few of the other lads, you know. So it was great crack.
Yeah. So you kind of your Irish career finished here. That injury, you just didn't get another crack, or weren't at the same level.
I captained Leinster. I think the following season I might have captained.
That's correct.
Yeah,
yes.
and I was asked after we beat Leicester in Donnybrook, who were chock-a-block with Lions after the South African tour. After we beat them, I got a call from the manager saying, "We'd like you to come back in training." But at that stage, I just said, "Listen, I'm happy just playing for Leinster now. I'm captain now. I might just concentrate on that."
What sort of age were you there?
20. Oh Jesus, might have been 30.
Yeah,
probably 30. Yeah. So in no way am I belittling the Irish jersey at all. But at that time, I was happy with my lot with Leinster.
Yep.
I've been given the captaincy role. I wanted to do that justice, and I didn't want any distractions.
Yeah.
You know?
So you had a couple of years with Leinster, finishing in 99. Got married in 99.
I did.
So you'd finally met Barb. You'd finally met Barb at this stage.
Been waiting for a few years for her to turn up. Yeah.
Mate, you'd checked out most of Dublin and found Barb.
I wish. Yeah. We met. She was from Bray, where I was living.
Yeah.
And we knew each other. And but she had a boyfriend at the time, so it wasn't a runner. So it's cool.
So got very retired. Some of your notable teammates, you know, like and you don't. I've known you a while, and you don't brag one iota. But you know, when you talk about Sexton's just sent me a text, O'Driscoll I caught up with O'Driscoll the other day. All these guys are mates. All these legends of
they're
Irish.
Very good. Yeah, look, I mean, Johnny Sexton. Johnny Sexton was a kid when I was at Bective, because his dad was the assistant coach. Of the Bective team at the time. I've known Johnny since he's a little fella, and he's an absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, people don't see the soft side. They see the narky, driven player that he is off the field.
To get that level.
Off the field, he's an absolute gent. And likewise, O'Driscoll, Darcy O'Driscoll, all these guys, just good people.
Yep.
You know, good people who like a beer, like to have a laugh. You know, and
so do you feel you're Irish, or you're proud that you're Irish Kiwi?
Very proud that I'm Irish Kiwi, but I guess in rugby terms, I probably see myself as Irish.
Yeah.
In rugby terms, even though I played a lot of, but for me, I think I did, particularly from a coaching perspective, that's where I cut my teeth as a coach, and that's probably the most recent memories of me of coaching, like coaching Leinster, winning a Heineken Cup, all that sort of stuff. That's still very fresh in my mind. And although I coached King Country over here, which is a great honour, don't get me wrong.
And New Zealand Heartland.
Yeah, in New Zealand Heartland. And but for me, from my coaching side of things, that's where my memories are.
Just playing wise, what was the closest you got with Leinster to winning the Heineken Cup?
that first year,
semi-final.
Yeah, and we and like I say, we had some great victories, but back in those days, we were just getting into semi-pro stuff, you know.
Yep.
So we were still learning. I'll give you an example. Like we had this guy, Liam Hennessy, who's renowned in Ireland as a great physical fitness coach and nutritionist. Switched on dude. He Mike Ruddock was coaching at the time, who took on. Later years got a Grand Slam with Wales coaching them, and he got him in, and he was showing us. Liam came in and said, right, we've done our fitness run. They'd flogged us in a fitness run. We come in. He said, right, now what I want you to do at the end of the day is we've got a game coming up next week. We're going to meet again on Wednesday. He said, and I want you all to start eating 2 to 3 bananas a day. He said, they're the superfoods. This is going to, and at the time it was, and he said, so is everyone clear on that? And then one of the tight forwards, a prop, stuck his hand up to say something, and Mike Rowan said, no, he's told you all once, if you didn't take that in, you got to learn.
Yeah.
So away he went. Anyway, I get a call from the said prop, who shall remain nameless. He's got a couple of caps for Ireland too. He rang me up the following day and said, we're meeting on Wednesday, right? I said, yeah. He said, how are you going with this banana thing? I said, okay. Oh, okay. I said, then he get a bit more small talks, and he said, listen, I'm going to come out straight here. He said, I'm struggling with this banana thing. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I'll tell you again, I'll be straight. I've eaten 16 today. I'll never get to the 23 that Liam's wanting us to. I said, 23? I said, 2 to 3, mate. He goes, what? And I said, you're probably giving yourself potassium poisoning. So what we did then, he said, Jesus, don't tell anyone, will you? So I went straight to the fines committee of our team and said, this has happened. So they fined him. For the next 2 weeks, he had to carry around one of those cardboard banana boxes with all his gear in it. So he couldn't have a bag. And then they said, if anyone asks you why you're carrying a banana box into the game and everyone else has got bags, you've got to explain exactly what happened. So what the lads would do, they'd get to a game, and some lads would get off before the bus before he did, and they go and tap some punter and say, there's going to be a guy walking with a banana box in here, ask him why he's doing that. And he had to explain it to them all. So then he'd get into the changing room late, he'd get another fine. So for the next 2 weeks, they absolutely caned him, you know. So that was sort of the stage we're at in that semi-pro sort of stuff, you know.
I could talk for ages, but people get bored with me. So that was pretty much your career. Just a fantastic career, like that's amazing. And then, like I said, you then kind of took over coaching. You had a great coaching career both in Ireland and New Zealand. Then you became administrator for a number of years and were involved with the King Country RDO, CEO. We might. Next time you're over, we might even have a look at part 2.
Sure.
Edmund part 2 of Kurt. Just, I guess, over in
that should
Ireland,
put a few people to sleep, to be honest. So yeah.
Over in Ireland, football, hurling, Gaelic football, then rugby.
Third, rugby's third. Yeah. So it'll be the football, the Gaelic football, then the hurling, and then rugby third.
Did you give any of them a crack? Isn't it? The hurling's a crazy one, isn't it?
Fastest sport in the world, mate. I swear to God.
Is that where they play at Croke Park? Yes.
Yeah, that's where they play the football and the hurling.
Yes.
And unbelievably skillful.
Yeah.
It's if all of those Gaelic footballers and hurlers came to rugby, they'd have some skillful side, I tell you. Not that saying that the rugby players aren't skillful, but it's some sport.
Yeah,
unbelievable sport.
They're just sports we know nothing about in New Zealand. A bit like AFL. It's just
You know how they can kick a ball and whack a hurley, you know.
Yeah. All right. Oh, let's. I'm not sure how much time it is. That's probably about 40 odd minutes. So you're currently over in Ireland. That's home for a period of time.
2 to 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah. 2 to 3 years, and then we'll probably come back and.
Still got your house here in Taupo? Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. My wife's adamant that we come back and see our days out here, which I'm not too upset about.
So just to finish, just kind of, I guess, highlights. I know there's a lot to try and highlight there, but I guess if you can kind of a couple of your highlights. Obviously, I'm picking playing for Ireland. It has to be the number one.
Definitely playing for Ireland, captaining Leinster. Definitely. In matches, some matches stick out. One match beating Canterbury
Yes.
in Lancaster Park.
Yep. That's with King Country, not Ireland.
King Country, yeah, with King Country.
Yep.
And then with Leinster beating Leicester in Donnybrook when they just come with a heap of Lions players and they're stacked in their side
Yep.
after the victorious South African trip. That was two games that really stick out in my mind.
Yeah, no, you've had an amazing playing career, Kurtie. Thank you so much for coming down. Hope you enjoyed it. Just
Thanks for having me.
reliving the old days.
Yeah.
You co-martyrs.
Yeah.
Wonderful, and thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Chancellor.
Cool. That was good.
Dennis.
Were you happy?
Yeah. Oh, it's cool.
It
It's good.
flows
Really
nicely,
good.
eh? Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.